Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words, tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, TYT Nation, Jeff Holder here. Welcome to the show. It's Thursday, or what I like to call the Less Garbage Tuesday. That it sounded a little bit better in my head. I don't know if Thursday is actually less garbage than Tuesday when you think about it, because Tuesday sucks because it's the beginning of the week and you're not really there. You're almost at the halfway point. But then again, Thursday, it's just another reminder that it's not Friday yet. And so I don't know which is worse, really, but this is one of those days. All right, so welcome to the show. I know it's a really strange way to start out the show, but we do things a little differently here. If you might not have noticed. So we've got some stuff. We got some stories that we want to talk about. And I think you'll enjoy some of the stories we talk about. We've got, of course, Donald Trump on his statements about Juneteenth. So that should be fun. Wall Street Journal. We also have COVID Kathy ranting about masks or a rule about masks. Oh, great. We have the DACA ruling and the reaction to that. We have a lot of people that are angry at Taco Bell. So that should be fun. And Trump's gift to a certain dictator, a little bit cringe. I want to talk about that because that's fun. Again, we got a mix of serious and fun stories, of course. And so we'll start it, of course, with the Juneteenth stuff, which is always fun. But before we do, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Helps out the show greatly. Super chats, of course, comments always welcome. In fact, I love the fact that you guys do this show with me, and that you're always in the comments. Sometimes giving me reminders or just doing some commentary, which is always great. So I really enjoy that. Thank you for being part of the show. All right. Yep. Look, I know this is I haven't been dressing up in my dress shirts because I'm it's been too hot. Honestly, it's been too hot, and I'm just t-shirt and blazer. It's not like there's a dress code. No, it's not a dress code. But and I just have not, like I said, been feeling fancy lately. So we're just going to do it the way that we're going to do it. And that's what it is. All right. Anyway, let's start off with the first story here. Let's go to Juneteenth. All right. President Donald Trump recently had an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and in it made some bizarre claims Shocker, I know, right? So one of them was about Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is a very important day, of course. It's the celebration of the end of slavery in the United States and has been celebrated for the last 150 years. It's even a holiday in 47 states and in D.C. Why not all 50 states, by the way? Why is it only in 47 of the states that it's a national holiday? Or, I'm sorry, a state holiday? Well, apparently there's a couple of states that are still a little bitter over the whole like ending slavery business. So it's one of those things. So now, how does that relate to Donald Trump? Well, a lot of people were pretty mad when he planned his comeback event for Juneteenth, especially since it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? So now, after some massive pushback, and of course I'm going to explain why, because Tulsa essentially, look, when you plan a Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on a day celebrating the end of slavery, and you have Donald Trump's Republican racist base, well, that's going to cause some problems, right? And so a lot of people were saying, hey, man, whoa, not cool. Let's not do that. How about you move it? And so after pushback, Donald Trump moves it to the 20th. So it's going to happen this Saturday. So now he's going to talk about this. And he tells the Journal, quote, I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous. What? No, he continues. It's actually an important event, an important time, but nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody ever heard of it. No. Can you believe this guy? Of course not. Of course he can, right? Here's the thing. He never heard of it. He doesn't know what Juneteenth is. He never knew what Juneteenth was. And so, look, basically, whenever he says, nobody had ever heard of it until I heard of it, it means he just heard of it. Like somebody had literally told. And in fact, in the article, he said that a black Secret Service agent was the one who had informed him about Juneteenth, about the meaning of it, right? And I'm assuming that same person also said, hey, man, having that rally on in Juneteenth is probably not a good idea. So why not do that? He also claimed that those around him, that he decided to take a poll, right? And and nobody around him knew what Juneteenth was. Again, well, okay, you know what? I was going to say I don't buy it, but now thinking about it, I mean, the people that he surrounds himself, the best people, the greatest people. I mean, you got Stephen Miller, who probably doesn't know any, or maybe he does and doesn't care. And that's far more likely for Stephen Miller. But maybe there's a lot of people that around him that, yeah, they're like, June, what? Who, what? No, I never heard of that. Why would we celebrate the end of slavery? No, we love that. I'm going to bring that back. You kidding me? I know, a little bit hyperbolic, but look, Donald Trump, as far as he's concerned, no, he had no idea. No idea whatsoever. The Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? Why are people so mad at me for my comeback rally? Juneteenth. Yeah, no. He was apparently, according to the Journal, surprised to learn from an aide during an interview with the Journal that the White House itself, despite nobody there knowing about what Juneteenth was, that the White House had put out a statement about Juneteenth last year. Here's his reaction. Oh, really? We put out a statement? The Trump White House put out a statement? Okay, good. Dumbest, laziest president in history. Oh my God. Like, he doesn't even know what the White House is doing, what the rest of everybody else is doing. Look, I guess it's because people are telling him, They're not telling him what's going on because he or they are telling him and he doesn't listen, uh, or doesn't care. And so he gets his information not from these daily briefings, right? Because he doesn't care about daily briefings. He's always bored when it comes to them. And, he doesn't read, obviously. And so he gets his information, he gets his news from Fox News, right? You think Fox News is going to say, oh, by the way, the White House put out a statement celebrating Juneteenth. You think Fox News cares at all about the end of slavery? No way. Absolutely not. Inconceivable. All right. Now, one more insane moment here, right? And this is Trump talking about systemic racism. Quote, I'd like to think there is not systemic racism, but unfortunately, there probably is some. I would also say it's very substantially less than it used to be. All right. Look, that statement was so close. I mean, he's almost there. He's so close. There is systemic racism. And yes, okay, is it a bit less? I actually think that that there's about as much as there used to be. Almost as much. I think that a lot of it has changed form, though. And so what I mean by that is that it's not quite as overt and in your face as it used to be. Okay. It's not like we've got separate drinking fountains now, but we do have separate communities. We have redlining for the banks. Our communities are generally segregated. A lot of our schools are as well. And it's mostly now done by class instead of race. I mean, you live in a wealthier area, you have better schools, right? You live in a poorer area, you tend to have more poorly funded schools. And it just so happens the class breakdown, the demographics of that, generally people, Black people tend to be in the lower socioeconomic strata. And so, yeah, they tend to get worse education as a result of that. That is systemic racism. And so, look, systemic is okay. Racism and classism, they do go hand in hand. Those are not separate things. If you want to help solve one, you got to help solve the other, right? They are linked in the system when it comes to systemic racism. Black people have been disadvantaged for a very, very long time in this country. And as a result, they have not been able to build wealth and pass it down to their children the way that white families have and communities have been able to do so. So it's not that they can't build wealth. It's that they haven't had the ability to do so for a very, very long time in the past. And then hand that wealth down, like, again, a lot of white families are able to do so and have been able to do so. And that's why, of course, in general, Black people don't have a lot of the nation's wealth comparatively to white people. And so that's an issue. That's a big issue. And that's systemic racism. Not only that, but it also not only exists in policing, of course, in prisons, but again, you've got housing, employment. I mean, Black names get less callbacks and less job offers than white sounding names with the same qualifications, by the way. You also have, as I mentioned, education, also healthcare outcomes. They don't get as good of healthcare outcomes. And oftentimes, and we've seen the studies of how Black women are considered to be, I mean, when it comes to medicine, it's more hard to explain. Like, doctors really don't believe Black women when they say that they're in pain. And then, of course, there are the stereotypes that, oh no, you shouldn't be giving this Black person some of these drugs because, well, they're going to abuse those drugs. They're druggies, of course. And so there are those stereotypes that exist, right? And not only that, but they've been very much disadvantaged by COVID-19. I mean, you have now, we're going to be facing a homelessness crisis very soon in some of these areas due to economic conditions created by the coronavirus and the government's lack of a response, and it has disproportionately affected African American communities. And so, yeah, there is a lot of systemic racism. It's incredibly pervasive in our system. It touches almost nearly every facet of our society because of, the roots of this country, based a lot in the transatlantic slave trade. And our country was built in large part by slavery. And so, yeah, it is deeply ingrained in our system. And as far as, of course, Donald Trump either doesn't know, doesn't care, or both. And the reason is because he and his family have never experienced it before. They've never experienced it. Probably really doesn't even realize how pervasive and how far it goes. And so that is a big problem. And that explains why he's one of the reasons why he's ignorant. But here's the thing. You can cure ignorance, right? You can do so by trying to educate yourself. But Donald Trump, he's one of those people that are willfully ignorant and doesn't bother to attempt to even try to educate himself. And that is a problem not just for him. It's a problem that we see a lot in, unfortunately, Republican/conservative circles. And so that ignorance, unfortunately, is now even being celebrated. And that is just something that needs to change. All right. Speaking of ignorance, got a great story for you guys. COVID Kathy.
I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks. I am not into sadomasochism and bondage.
Okay. Ma'am, do you know this is a Wendy's, right? Kidding. Wow. Okay. Look, that's part of a disturbing rant by a obvious Trump supporting woman that had happened at a Ventura County Board of Supervisors meeting. Now, this woman, identified as Deb Baber, railed against a new requirement to wear face masks inside businesses and government offices, on public transit, and in most other indoor locations open to the public. So understand, this is a sweeping rule that has been informed by, of course, increased spikes in coronavirus cases. I mean, look, California has had a spike. Arizona, right now, the healthcare system in Arizona has been basically overwhelmed by the spike in coronavirus cases. You also have cases in Florida, many other places. One of the places, and we can be proud of that, Michigan, we actually have a gigantic decrease in cases, thanks to, of course, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So she actually has done a pretty good job in slowing the amount of the increases of cases of coronavirus in our state. So good on her, right? Now, I want to show you more of this rant because it goes on for quite some time, and it's just full of ignorance. So I'll show you and then I'll break it down.
Are you going to be wearing masks when you come in? Are you going to obey that city? And if not, then how in the world are you expecting any of us to obey anything that you say? I protest face coverings. I am a healthy American. I used to be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks. I am not into sadomasochism and bondage. I am not a burglar. I am not a pandering politician like we see here and here and here and here. I am a proud Trump Republican, yearning to be free again. Who are you, victim or victor? If you are offended by anything I have said, by the masses of people, then I am offended by the masses of people who do not question your wholesale slaughter of our constitutional and inalienable rights. Shame on all of you. Let liberty ring. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I lost it when she started singing. Wow. She even brought props, guys. Like the bell. Like, oh no, she had the whole poster board pointing to Antifa and terrorism. I'm sorry. That was great. So much crazy here. Okay. So I bring it down. I got to bring it down here. That went on for a while. By the way, she sung a lot of that song, and they let her do it, man. Hey, she had her times. All right. So now let me get to some serious points here, right? For one, masks. Look, masks aren't there to protect you, right? They're there to protect everyone from you. So to say like, I'm a healthy American, why do I need a mask? You're kind of missing the point. All right. I mean, look, people who spread this virus, right? The ones who spread it the most are those who are asymptomatic, right? You don't have to show symptoms in order to spread this virus, which is incredibly virulent, right? You could have it, be, and feel completely healthy and fine and spread it to other people. That's the problem. That's why you should wear masks in public, not just in enclosed spaces, but actually the CDC recommends that you should be wearing masks basically whenever you're out in a public space. And I know the CDC is like, well, you know, we're going to change our mask guidelines. And look, they weren't honest with us at the beginning, right? Because they wanted to make sure, and it's a good reason, they wanted to make sure that medical professionals had masks, enough masks as well, because what we had is this PPE shortage, right? Later on, they revised it to make sure that more people wear masks. And then they revised it again, of course, to say that, no, everybody needs to wear masks, not just inside, but also in other places to make sure that we limit the spread of the virus. Because according to research, wearing face masks in public has corresponded to the most effective means to prevent transmission of the virus. Why? Because it spreads through water droplets, right? Water droplets, they're not going to get through that mask on either way. And so when you have everyone that wear that's wearing masks, I think you can reduce the amount of the possibility of transmission by like 95%, which is pretty good, I would say. And then, of course, you combine that with physical distancing limits and quarantine and contact tracing. That's the way to slow and eventually stop the virus. And so now the researchers also calculated that wearing face masks had prevented the more than 78,000 infections in Italy between April 6th and May 9th, and more than 66,000 infections in New York City between April 17th and May 9th. Masks work. Simply put, masks work. Now, if you don't believe this, you don't want to believe this, you're deeply ignorant, and you're not at all interested in expert opinion. You think that you are an expert, right? And not only are these people ignorant, but they're also, look, incredibly selfish. You are literally putting other people at risk. Hey, she says, I am not a terrorist. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. But seriously, though, please wear a mask. Have some empathy, right, for your fellow human beings. Again, these people like her, are acting like caring about your neighbor and your community is some sort of horrible thing. It's the erosion. You're stomping, you're shredding the Constitution by forcing me to wear a mask. But in reality, masks at the most are mainly inconvenient, right? And can be uncomfortable. I get it, right? I don't like masks. My nose itches like whenever I wear a mask. It sucks. And sometimes, yeah, it feels like some people have problems with breathing through the mask. Even though technically you are breathing through the mask, it's that psychological issue. I get it. I get all of that. And I completely understand that. But again, a lot of people who have those similar problems and have those similar feelings, they still, and I hate to use this phrase, but they still man up and put the mask on because they actually care about their fellow human beings. And that's the issue, right? Wearing a mask is necessary. But again, the conservatives, like these people, they think it's the end of America, it's the end of freedom, the end of everything good and just and pure. And they feel that way, I think, because they haven't actually experienced real oppression. They don't know what real oppression is. It's all about me. That's all I care about. And ironically, these are the people that will ensure that the rest of us are going to have to still wear masks and socially distance or physically distance for even longer than we should have to, because we're not going to be able to contain the virus thanks to these deeply ignorant, selfish people. There. I think I'm pretty clear about that. All right, we got another mask story for you guys. This time, we get somebody who got fired for wearing a mask. So this is the kind of the other side of it. People on social media are outraged after video surfaced of an employee getting fired from Taco Bell for refusing to take off his mask. Now, his mask, of course, says Black Lives Matter on it, and that was the issue here. He was ordered by his boss in order to remove that mask and put on a different one because apparently that might have been offensive to some people in the restaurant. So I want to show you this video of him arguing with his boss and explaining himself and why he will refuse to take off that mask.
Just fired me because I got a Black Lives Matter on. You just told me I had to go home because I got a.
You weren't going to take it off.
I'm not. Because I'm standing up for what's right. I'm not taking it off. Tammy said we can wear whatever mask.
No, she did not. She said it had to be plain. You can't bring politics into the building.
Bro, I'm not bringing politics in. This is what I'm standing for. Like, how is this considered politics?
How is it not, Denzel?
I'm not taking it off.
Okay, well then there's nothing I can do for you. I'm just doing my job.
I'm doing mine too. I'm standing up for my peoples too.
You don't get it.
You don't either.
No, I do get it.
No, you don't. Because if you did, this wouldn't be a problem.
It's not that it's a problem with me, Denzel. It's a company thing.
Man, I ain't trying to hear that.
You let somebody wear something that said something about white people on it?
Bro, if that's what they stand for, yes.
I'm not against for what you stand for either, but I have to do what the company says.
All right, so there's a few things in this, right? So, okay. So this guy, again, he gets fired. He refuses to take off his Black Lives Matter mask because he says, look, it's not political, right? I would agree that saying Black Lives Matter shouldn't be political. Unfortunately, it has been politicized by the right wing. But here's the thing. Black Lives Matter, again, it doesn't belong to the Democratic Party, right? Or any specific political party. We've seen Black Lives Matter protesters actually protest in Democratic cities, right? With Democratic mayors. And so it's not about politics. It's not about a left versus right paradigm. No, it's about Black people not wanting to get killed by police. And you've had plenty of Democratic mayors in Democratic cities unleash police on peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters. And so it shouldn't be political. Nonetheless, apparently she has a problem with that Black Lives Matter, with him wearing that mask, because, and this is what I believe, she doesn't want to offend the white customers by saying, well, it is political. No, saying Black Lives Matter isn't political. It shouldn't be. Again, this is police. This is a call for police to stop killing Black people. The people who tried to politicize it, of course, and do so in effectively, are the right wing, who have said, "Oh yeah, well, all lives matter." No, all lives will not matter until Black lives and Indigenous lives matter. Indigenous people also really should be part of this conversation, because it's also shown that, I mean, their lives don't matter. In fact, so they're supposed to get, Indigenous areas are supposed to get $9 billion, I think, in COVID aid. They haven't received a dime. And so that's a big problem, right? So now, that said, right, I think Taco Bell fired this person to appease racists. And they're afraid that this mask, this Black Lives Matter movement, is going to trigger some people. And so I think, look, I like that this guy took a stand. I like that this guy said, no, I'm not going to take the mask off. And that's fine. I'm standing up for what I believe in. I'm standing up for my people. I'm standing up against, police brutality, essentially. And look, I don't really care about their rules, right? And besides, I don't even think that he was breaking the rules. All it said is that employees must wear a mask. They didn't really say what you can and can't have on that mask. So really, I think it was up to this manager, to determine if what was written or shown on the mask was quote unquote offensive or not. And so that's the issue, right? Yeah, a couple of people in the chat says, well, if it was all lives matter, would it be okay? Look, I don't know. I mean, personally, I'd be like, well, yeah, obviously all lives matter, but that seems to be only used as in a specific circumstance. Whenever somebody says Black Lives Matter and if the retort is, oh, all lives matter, it's just a way to try to downplay that. And so I don't think that it would be okay. And a lot of people, I think, would have agreed with me. So now, again, a lot of people were mad on social media at Taco Bell, and I want to give you some of their responses because I largely agree with them. One of them said, fighting for Black lives is not a political issue. This is really not complex. I don't get how people and $1 million corporations, I think it's actually $1 billion corporation, but nonetheless, they said, I don't get how they don't understand this. Fighting for basic human rights is not a political issue. Black Lives Matter. Rip Taco Bell. So, and that's one of those things where that's the hashtag RIP Taco Bell. Another said, they really fired a Taco Bell employee for wearing a Black Lives Matter mask. They called it bringing politics into the building. Our fight for the right to live without fear is not politics. F Taco Bell. Another one said, hey, Taco Bell, nice PR move, but you're as fake as they come. So now the PR move, of course, is them blacking out their social media for, I think, a short time and saying, well, we want to listen to Black voices. We're here and we're listening to you. All right. Another one says, do me this one good favor, companies. Don't say y'all supporting Black Lives Matter. Because if you're going to treat workers that support Black Lives Matter by wrongfully firing like that, at the end of the day, it's a business, but I also can take my business elsewhere because my money do matter. So, should he be able to wear the mask? Obviously, there's some people that are going to agree, some that are not going to agree. In fact, there's somebody in the chat that says, as a Black man, I agree with Taco Bell. You wear a plain mask at work, period. You can make a statement after work. Okay. Though another points out, Taco Bell said Thursday that it doesn't prohibit its employees from wearing Black Lives Matter masks. So, again, this wasn't against their code. This wasn't against their rules, despite the fact that this woman said it's against our rules. Well, if it's not against company policy, then it shouldn't be a big problem. And so based on that, he shouldn't lose his job, even if you do think that, oh, no, you should be able to make a political statement. But again, is this really a political statement? Saying that black people shouldn't be shot by police. And so there's others that say, and I'm reading here from the YouTube chat, one says, I would argue that fighting for basic human rights is inherently political. Almost everything is political to some degree. I mean, yes and no. I think it's a basic human rights issue. The way that they say, oh, don't bring politics in the workplace is not the fact that we don't want to bring attention to these issues. It's the fact that they don't want any divisiveness. That's the thing. We don't want anything that makes it so that we don't get customers, right? That we offend a customer. And then we, that of course makes it so that people complain to management about us or to corporate. And then, we get in all sorts of problems. So best to leave that stuff at home. Anything divisive, we're not in favor of, right? And so understand, like, yes, you're right that everything is political, and there's a lot of political, implications in just about everything. But they don't mean it in that way when they say keep your politics out of work. What they mean is stop being so divisive. Stop, rocking the boat. Don't rock the boat. Everything needs to be fine and consumer friendly, no matter who you are or what you believe. And so that's, again, I think a side effect of the focus on, the customer's always right and capitalism and all that stuff. So would a MAGA hat be allowed? Probably. Very much so. Doesn't Taco Bell offer PPE for its employees? I'm pretty sure they do. As this one person says, well, yeah, we can give you another mask. Just don't wear that one. Again, for me, I'm on the side of I think he should be able to wear that mask. I don't really care if a couple of bigots are offended, or racists are offended at Taco Bell. Who cares? And look at the irony about that, right? Taco place. I know they're not actually Mexican. They're not authentic Mexican or whatever. But what's supposed to be Americanized Mexican food, right? Getting like having a fit, I guess, and firing somebody over a statement made by a black person in order to appease white racists. It's just kind of weird. It's an interesting situation. And so you guys know I've got a bias on this. I believe Black Lives Matter, and I think the message is a good one. And I think that, again, all lives are not going to matter until Black and Indigenous lives matter. And we should be having these conversations, even if it makes people uncomfortable. And I don't really care about the other side, right? I'm not going to sit here and do whataboutism on the issue of whether or not you can wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. And I know people will inevitably bring up what if I want to wear a Confederate flag t-shirt? I can guarantee that Confederate flag t-shirts have and will continue to be worn, and Confederate flag hats inside of establishments without anyone raising a fuss. How do I know that? Well, because I've had family members that, one specific that had a Confederate flag hat, and he would wear it everywhere he goes. In restaurants, like out to eat, out in the stores, nobody gives anyone hassle for wearing Confederate flag, issues. And I don't think, or, attire, right? And I don't think that if somebody strolls into that Taco Bell with a Confederate flag t-shirt, that anybody's going to give him any problem. But I can guarantee if somebody comes in with a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, then there's going to be an issue. So, again, that's my perspective. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm just not going to other side this. I know where I stand, And I think Black Lives Matter. I don't like racists. And I think this guy should not only get his job back, but he should get a promotion for standing up for what he believes in. But that's just me. All right. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back. We have Donald Trump reacting to DACA. And then we've got Trump's present to Kim Jong Un. Oh, so good. You're going to love it. All right. Stay right here. We'll be back in a minute. I'm going to thank some patrons and some super chats when we get back, and read some super chats when I get back. So stay right here.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here at TWT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so first, I want to read a super chat here from Fielen Schwarzentraub. Very strong name. I have asthma. I still wear the mask. I can for as long as a healthy person, but I can't for as long as a healthy person, but I still do. We appreciate that. Thank you. I know it sucks. It's uncomfortable. We all understand that, but I'm glad that you realize, and I wish a lot of conservatives would, that we're all kind of in this whole thing together, and that we should be supporting each other and protecting each other, and making sure that we don't spread this virus to everyone else. All right. More here. Well, that's it for Super Chats. Let's go to Patreon. It's patreon.com/TYT Nation. I want to thank Katrina and Ian for signing up. You can become a patron by going to patreon.com/TYT Nation. Let's see. Channel members. I want to thank David Tufano and Swampy. Thank you. Become a channel member by hitting the join button below. All right. With that, let's head to the story about DACA. No, let's DACA. Here we go. All right. Wrong thing here. All right. It appears President Trump is big mad at the Supreme Court after another ruling has derailed his anti-immigrant, anti-LGBT agenda. So now, according to The Hill, president criticized the Supreme Court shortly after the justices, in a 5-4 decision, blocked the Trump administration's effort to revoke DACA. So that's, of course, the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which ensures that 700,000 undocumented immigrants are able to stay in this country and are shielded from deportation. So now, remember, that was one of Donald Trump's big priorities, is getting rid of DACA. And not really Donald Trump's, but more Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, and back when they originally tried to suspend DACA, it was led by Jeff Sessions at the Justice Department. So they wanted to get rid of this program so that they could deport all of those people. So now, the problem with that, of course, is that first, these DACA recipients, they were already guaranteed to be able to stay in this country by President Obama. One of the reasons that Donald Trump didn't like it is because, again, it's undocumented immigrants, and he hates those, but also mainly because Obama did it. So he's like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. I want it gone. I want it gone. Okay. The other problem is these are people that were brought to the United States through no fault of their own by their parents. And it was a good decision to bring them over because they were generally trying to have a better life. They were trying to live the American dream, essentially. And now this administration says, well, we're going to try to send you back to a place that you don't know, and in some cases where you don't even speak the language. Again, these people were brought here as children, sometimes infants. They built lives, they built homes, they set their roots in America, but they weren't born here. And so they weren't able to actually get automatic citizenship from doing that. But some have been here just about their entire lives and have built up those lives with the identity of being an American. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them didn't even realize that that they're actually not a citizen. And so, nonetheless, Trump and the Republicans, they said, no protection. We're going to send you back. We don't care. We don't care. So now this decision, thankfully, says, actually, you can't do that. Now, let me get into the technical aspect of it. Because, of course, there's a caveat in this decision that means that Trump could come back after it again. Now, Justice John Roberts, Chief Justice, right? He says, quote, "We do not decide whether DACA or its rescission are sound policies." Roberts wrote in the majority opinion, "The wisdom of those decisions is none of our concern. We address only whether the agency complied with the procedural requirement that it provide a reasoned explanation for its action." So understand, the court says, well, we can't really make a decision whether or not it's good policy. All we're doing is that we're saying that since you didn't give us a good reason to rescind this policy, we're not going to let you rescind this policy. Hating immigrants really isn't a good enough reason, right, for us. That said, the Trump administration, if they do find a reason, they could try to challenge this again. And then, of course, it would probably make its way up to the Supreme Court again. And so the good news is, though, I don't necessarily think that they will. Because what reason could they come up with that would be good enough to expel 700,000 people who are here because they were brought as children? They've otherwise followed the laws and contributed to communities as well as into the government through taxes. And so I don't know. I don't think they're going to go after it, though. I don't think they're going to be able to. And the other part that brings me brings me to that conclusion is the reaction from Donald Trump, who said this: "These horrible and politically charged decisions coming out of the Supreme Court are shotgun blasts to the face of people that are proud to call themselves Republicans or conservatives." That statement right there, the shotgun blast to the face, that alone made it so Dick Cheney would be trending on Twitter, because he is the one who literally had some shotgun blasts to the face when he was hunting. And it wasn't him that received them. It was him giving them out. I still can't. It's still amazing to think that, like, when you look back, and realized the vice president had shot someone in the face with a shotgun accidentally. That story is now no longer insane in our lexicon, right? Back then, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe Cheney shot someone in the face. Whoa. And the guy who was shot apologized. He was the one to say, oh, I'm sorry you shot me in the face. That's no longer crazy because we have Donald Trump. And so he's literally talking about shotgun blasts to the face. Wow. He also said, we need more justices or we will lose our Second Amendment and everything else. Vote Trump 2020. Excuse me. Does Donald Trump know any other amendments than the second? Does he really talk about them at all? Does he know they exist? I mean, look, it's a question. I think it's a fair question at this point. There is so much that he has proven that he doesn't know about our government, about our system of government. And so I think it's a fair question. All right. So look, he's talking about like, oh, make it so that I win so I can replace even more justices so I can have a super stacked Supreme Court so that, I can get the wins, right? And understand that's what the Republicans want to do. So they want to make sure to win the 2020 election and replace, probably Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So that would make a 6-3 court, which would be conservative for generations, right? So if you want to make the argument that, hey, man, look, I don't like Biden, but we got to do something about that Supreme Court. I get it. I think that, look, even though the justice that Biden will probably pick will be pretty centrist, maybe even center right, they won't be Brett Kavanaugh. And so Brett Kavanaugh, of course, has been on Trump's side in every single one of these decisions. Whereas, surprisingly, Neil Gorsuch actually voted in favor of allowing people that are LGBTQ and trans people to not be fired and discriminated from their job. And so that's an important decision. And that was Gorsuch. And that's another reason Donald Trump was absolutely fuming about this. And so now he's like, I can't believe these justices that I got on the Supreme Court were so disloyal to me. No, they're supposed to back me and back me only. He doesn't understand that the Supreme Court literally is just supposed to interpret laws and not be activist judges. Although, as I've mentioned, a lot of these conservatives are like, no, we want our activist judges. Which is hilarious because for years and years, they screamed about liberal activist judges. And so, yeah. Now, one more thing. This is the last part. Donald Trump puts out another tweet where he makes this entire thing, again, about himself. Quote, do you get the impression that the Supreme Court doesn't like me? It's not about you. It's not about, not everything's about you. Clear narcissist behavior, right? What a narcissistic piece of trash. This guy has some serious mental issues because he can't help himself. He's got to make everything about him. This is not about him. This is about the law. It's about immigration. It's about DACA recipients and their rights. And I'm glad that this decision was made because as of right now, those DACA recipients are now safe. And that Trump's and Stephen Miller's racist agenda has right now so far been stopped. And so at least I'm glad to be able to report on that. All right. One more here. President Trump once gave a gift to North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un that was so bad, yet so unbelievably on brand for the president. So now this comes from cowardly grifter John Bolton's new book, which you should not buy. You should definitely not buy this book. You should read the book, but not buy it, because remember, we don't support terrorists with our money. So now, this excerpt was reported by the International Business Times. And in it, Bolton writes about how Trump had been courting the North Korean dictator back in 2018. Remember how they'd written love letters to each other, as Trump says. And this is after nearly bringing us to war with the same country. So now, he had a gift for Kim Jong Un, and it was in the form of a special CD. And yeah, get ready for this, right? Because this is literally the most Donald Trump thing ever. It was a signed single of Elton John's Rocket Man. Rocket Man. Because of course, right? Now it gets better, because apparently delivery on this disc was a top priority for everyone in the administration. If you were going overseas to meet Kim Jong Un, Donald Trump expected you to haul this single, this CD, right, with you, and then give it to the North Korean dictator. Now, it's important to him because obviously Rocket Man was his nickname for Kim Jong Un, and also, by the way, Elton John happens to be one of Donald Trump's favorite musicians. So now, in fact, here's what the article notes. The president is a massive Elton John fan who had reportedly heard from Kim Jong that he had never heard the song Rocket Man. So naturally, Trump wanted to give the supreme leader a recording and advised the Secretary of State to make the delivery. That was Mike Pompeo, by the way. Getting the CD to Kim remained a high priority for several months. High priority. As opposed to what? Getting Kim Jong Un to denuclearize? No. Or getting him to stop, maybe, I don't know, imprisoning and torturing his people? Nope. It's about making sure that we get this Elton John CD to Kim Jong Un. And so he tries to get Mike Pompeo to do it. And so here's what Bolton wrote. Trump didn't seem to realize Secretary of State Mike Pompeo hadn't actually seen Kim Jong Un during Pompeo's follow-up overseas trip. Asking if Pompeo had handed the autographed CD to Kim, Bolton wrote, Pompeo had not. So that I'm assuming that's one of the first things that he asked Bolton. Did you give Kim the CD? Did he like it? No, I didn't give him the CD. That said, he kept trying to give him the CD because Donald Trump literally believed that it was the most brilliant thing he had ever devised. And of course, to make it more Trump, the disc, I mentioned that it was autographed, right? It wasn't autographed by Elton John. No. It was autographed by Donald Trump. So he took the single of Rocket Man and signed his name all over it to give it to Kim Jong Un. This story is insane. The most Trump thing ever. I got you this gift. It's my favorite. It's my favorite musician, and it's a song that my nickname for you is Rocket Man, and I signed it. Literally the greatest gift ever. You're gonna love it. I can't wait for you to get it. Oh my God. Now, not only did he think Kim Jong Un would love this, he also thought that Elton John would love this too because it would help him. Quote, this is from Bolton. The president said something like, boy, I bet Elton will get a kick out of this, said a former senior Trump administration official. It seemed like he hadn't spoken to Elton John in a while. I know from my conversation with the president that he finds it regrettable that he and Elton John haven't been closer during his presidency. So, yeah, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give Kim Jong Un the CD that I signed And I think Elton John's going to love that. And Kim Jong Un's going to love that. I am the greatest genius in the world. I'm the best. Tremendous. But here's the thing, right? Elton John's like, get me away from this guy. Like, I want nothing to do with Donald Trump. In fact, here's what he said in 2016 when Trump would blast his music at his rallies. He said, quote, this is to The Guardian, I don't really want my music to be involved in anything to do with an American election campaign. I'm British. I've met Donald Trump. He was very nice to me. It's nothing personal. His political views are my own. Mine are very different. I'm not a Republican in a million years. And so, okay, all of that stuff was like, okay, look, I don't want this guy playing my music at his rallies. We have some disagreements. But then he gets a little bit harsher. He says, quote, why not ask Ted fucking Nugent or one of those fucking country stars? They'll do it for you. Oh, spicy Elton John. Love it. Love it. But see, Donald Trump, he's a sad hanger-on, I think, because he loves Elton John's music. Part of who Donald Trump is that he's got this mentality like, I want everyone to love me. I want people to love me. I want to be part of the club. I want to be popular, right? And, you know, he has that, and it's almost childlike, right? But also, he's got this monumentally large ego, this narcissistic personality, along with a very thin skin, right? And so it is really super sad. Now, according to two people with knowledge of the President Trump's private remarks at the time, he believed that Sir Elton John would appreciate the overture because it would give the musician's work additional publicity and international media attention. It's Sir Elton John. Okay. The only way that you don't know who Sir Elton John is if you grew up in a hermit country like North Korea, which of course, I guess that kind of makes sense now. But look, one more note to how childish this Donald Trump is. In 2017, they write, Trump was so proud of his nickname. This is in Daily Beast. So proud of his nickname that in the run-up to his first speech at the United Nations, the president quizzed several top administration officials, including then U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, on whether or not it would be prudent for him to denounce Kim as suicidal rocket man during his address to the General Assembly, according to a source with direct knowledge of the matter. Numerous advisors told him not to do it, with some thinking it was simply too childish to do in such an august setting. Trump decided to do it anyway, as we, of course, had seen. In fact, that sidebar is literally when he was giving that speech and saying he is suicidal rocket man. All that time, by the way, when he's calling the rocket man, he's thinking, nailed it. Elton John's going to love this. Baby. All of this screams supreme narcissist, no empathy, and is really dumb to boot. I don't think Donald Trump couldn't have cared less about the nuclear talks. No, it was all about him. His primary focus, and you get that theme, right, apparently throughout Bolton's book, where Donald Trump would basically put his own personal interests that, you know, not even personal financial interests, but just personal interests like, ooh, I hope this person notices me, or, ooh, this person says nice things about me, over any sort of diplomatic gain for the United States, diplomatic or policy gain. And so constantly putting himself over the good of the country. That's who Donald Trump is. He is singularly incapable of framing any issue other than when it comes to himself, basically. That's how he frames that. That's how he sees everything is, how does this help Donald Trump? He is not fit for office. He is not fit for office. He cannot be president again. He cannot be given 4 more years. If you thought that this was, this last 4 years bad enough, we got to get him out. We do. We got to get him out. All right. He probably had a very sad childhood. Yeah, I mean, his dad was probably constantly calling him a dummy, and a loser, and a sad baby. Notice me, senpai. Oh, that's good. I like that. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Become a patron, patreon.com/DUATNation, support independent progressive media, or become a channel member by hitting the join button below. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching the live stream and the recording of the live stream or listening to the podcast, which, by the way, we have podcasts up on iTunes. So you can download the show, listen to it whenever. And you can also do so by becoming a patron, patreon.com/DUATNation. All right, guys. Thank you. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Mike Pounds.
Please clap.
Wait. Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.